You ever get that feeling, you've got these goals, things you really want to do, but you just feel kind of stuck?
Oh, absolutely. Like you're putting in the effort, but maybe not seeing the results you hoped for.
Exactly that. It's like spinning your wheels sometimes.
Yeah, it's super common. And actually, that feeling is exactly why we wanted to do this deep dive today. We came across this really interesting conversation.
Right. It was on the Learn English podcast YouTube channel, Leah and Gwen.
That's the one, their podcast and chill segment. They were talking about something they call the 1% mindset.
Yeah, the 1% mindset. And what grabbed me wasn't, some promise of instant success or anything like that.
No, not a magic bullet.
Not at all. It was more about how these really small, like tiny daily improvements can actually build up over time significantly.
Compound interest, but for personal growth, kind of.
Exactly. So that's our mission today. We want to really unpack this 1% mindset, get into the core ideas.
And figure out how you, listening right now, can actually use these principles.
Well,
To maybe get unstuck and start moving forward without feeling totally overwhelmed.
okay. So 1% mindset. First things first, let's clear up what it isn't. Because you hear 1% and you might think,
Like minimum effort,
right.
barely trying. Yeah, that's a common thought.
Right. But Leo, in their chat, he specifically pushed back on that. It's definitely not about phoning it in.
No. Gwen made a great point too. The actual power is in that commitment to getting just 1% better every single day.
Like a tiny adjustment, but done consistently.
Exactly. And it's not just feel-good talk. They mentioned some research, didn't they? Something about habit formation.
Yeah, they touched on a study. I think it was from the British Journal of Health Psychology.
They didn't go super deep into the methodology or anything, but the takeaway was clear.
Yeah, that lasting change, real habit change, often comes from these small incremental steps, not from trying to change everything overnight.
Which honestly just makes sense. Trying to do too much at once is usually a recipe for burnout, isn't it?
Totally. And they contrasted this approach with, like, the dreamers. People with big ambitions, but maybe not the consistent follow-through.
The idea is that the 1% mindset isn't necessarily about having smaller dreams, but about how you actually use your time each day to work towards them.
That time analogy Leo used was brilliant, the limited edition iPhone.
Yeah, such a good way to think about it. Time is this incredibly valuable, non-renewable resource.
And the 1% mindset is about being really intentional with it, making conscious choices about where that time and energy goes.
Prioritizing the things that actually move you forward, even just a tiny bit, over, say, instant gratification or distraction.
Right. And Gwen really hammered home that progress isn't about these big dramatic bursts of effort. It's the accumulation.
The slow, steady buildup. And crucially, it's not about being perfect from day one. That's a huge relief, I think.
Oh, for sure. Perfectionism can be paralyzing.
Exactly. The main thing, the recurring theme, was just consistency.
Yeah.
Show up. Be a little better. That's it.
And the cool thing is, it's not like some secret club. They made it clear this is for anyone willing to commit to that daily effort.
Anyone willing to focus on those small wins.
Okay, but let's be real. We all have those days. The ones where the motivation tank is just empty. You're get up and go. It just got up and went.
Huh. Yeah, absolutely. The mad days.
So how does this 1% mindset work then, when you feel zero motivation?
Well, according to Leo and Gwen, that's actually crunch time. Those low motivation days are where the 1% mindset really proves its worth.
How so?
It's about taking action anyway, doing that small thing even when you absolutely do not feel like it. That's the pivot point.
Ah, okay, so that's the split, the difference between the 1% and the other 99%.
Precisely. Gwen put it very clearly. The 1% rely on discipline, not just waiting for motivation to magically appear.
We've all been there, though, haven't we? Starting something new with tons of excitement.
Oh, yeah. The new gym membership, the language app, the stack of self-help books.
You're all in for like a week, maybe two, and then fizzle.
That's the 99% trap, right? Relying only on that initial buzz.
Whereas the 1%, they just keep plugging away.
They just keep showing up. Gwen had a great phrase. Rain or shine, motivated or meh, they put in the work.
So what keeps them going then, if not just raw motivation?
Well, the conversation suggested it's usually something deeper. An internal drive, a sense of purpose, a clear why.
Not just chasing likes or external approval.
Exactly. Not building something just for the gram, as Gwen put it. It's more about aligning with your own values, your own definition of progress.
That hits home. It's easy to get caught up in how things look on the outside.
And Leo seemed to have this realization, too, about how easy it is to fixate only on the final outcome, the big prize.
And totally undervalue the day-to-day grind, the small, maybe boring steps it takes to get there.
Exactly. Which actually leads perfectly into the next big idea they discussed.
Which is?
Focusing on the process, not just the prize.
Okay, explain that a bit more.
The idea is that people with this mindset, they prioritize mastering the process. They figure out the steps, the system, the daily actions.
And they trust that if they do those things consistently, the results will naturally follow.
You got it. It's like watering a plant.
Yeah.
You don't stand there demanding it grow faster each day. You just focus on giving it water consistently.
Right. You trust the process of growth.
Exactly. It's the opposite of that quick fix mentality that's so tempting everywhere.
Yeah, we all want instant results, don't we?
Of course. But the 1% mindset acknowledges that real, sustainable progress usually takes time. It's gradual.
So the advice is to kind of fall in love with the process itself, or at least learn to appreciate the daily effort.
Yeah, trust the process, as they say. Find
Awesome.
satisfaction in the doing, not just constantly looking for the finish line. Like not checking the mirror for muscles after every single workout.
That makes sense. And didn't Gwen share an analogy about this? Something about a tree?
Yes, the bamboo analogy. It's fantastic.
Tell us about that.
Okay, so the story goes that when you plant a bamboo seed, for the first 4 years, you see almost nothing happening above the ground.
4 years. Wow, that requires patience.
Seriously, it looks like nothing's working. But what's happening unseen underground is incredible. The bamboo is building this massive, complex root system.
Ah, laying the foundation.
Precisely. All this invisible work. And then, in the 5th year, boom, it shoots up, like incredibly fast, sometimes 80 feet in just a few weeks.
Wow, okay, that's a powerful metaphor.
Isn't it? It perfectly illustrates how our own growth skills, habits, mindset often has this long period of like underground development before we see the big results.
So if you feel like you're putting in the work but not seeing much change,
You might just be in your root building season, as the podcast put it. Don't get discouraged just because the progress isn't visible yet.
that's really encouraging, actually.
It is. All that practice, that unseen effort, it all counts. It's all strengthening that foundation.
Okay, so we understand the mindset, the importance of discipline, process, patience. Now, the big question, how do we actually do this? What are the practical steps?
Great question. And the podcast offered some really concrete starting points. Step 1 is all about those small daily habits.
Right, the tiny actions. They mentioned that 1% daily improvement leading to being, 37 times better in a year? That's wild.
It is. That stat, often linked to James Clear and Atomic Habits, really highlights the power of accumulation.
And the examples they gave were so simple, like making your bed.
Yeah. Seems tiny, right?
Yeah.
But the idea is it sets a tone. It's a small win first thing, builds a micro habit of discipline that can kind of ripple outwards.
Lowers the barrier to entry for discipline almost.
Exactly. And they mentioned BJ Fogg's tiny habits, too. Making the habit so small, it's almost impossible not to do it.
Like the example of just putting on your running shoes if you want to start running.
Yep. Just the first tiny step. Lower that activation energy.
Okay, so start small. What's step 2?
Step 2 is about building systems, not just setting goals.
Systems, like routines or processes.
Exactly. Instead of just, I want to get fit, the system might be, I will do 2 push-ups right after I brush my teeth every morning.
Ah, so you focus on the repeatable action, the habit that moves you towards the goal.
Precisely. The focus isn't on the immediate result of 2 push-ups, but on wiring the habit of acting consistently.
And again, consistency over perfection, right? What if you miss a day?
Yeah, they really stress this.
Yeah.
You just get back on track the next day, or even the next hour. Don't wait for Monday. Don't let one slip derail everything.
That's crucial. It's easy to fall into that all or nothing trap,
Totally. And to help with consistency, they talked about tracking.
like journaling or apps.
Yeah, or a simple wall calendar. The Seinfeld strategy, marking an X every day you do the habit and trying not to break the chain.
That visual can be really motivating.
For sure. And they acknowledge breaks, habit, vacations, illness. The key is just to consciously restart the system when you can.
Okay, small habits, build systems. What's next?
Step 3, protect your focus. This one is huge in today's world.
Oh man, tell me about it. Distractions are everywhere.
Right. The podcast used that great analogy, guard your time and attention like it's the last slice of pizza.
Huh. I like that. Be ruthless.
Pretty much. Identify your personal focus thieves. Maybe it's mindless scrolling, maybe constant notifications, maybe binge watching.
And then actively minimize them.
Yeah. Create an environment that supports focus. Maybe a cleaner workspace, fewer open tabs, phone on silent, or even better, in another room.
Simple steps, but they can make a big difference. Okay, step 4.
Step 4 is defining your why, your purpose.
The motivation behind the action. We touched on this earlier.
Exactly. Because even the best systems can fail if you don't have a strong, clear reason why you're doing it. It's the fuel for long-term consistency.
And they said it needs to be specific, right? Not just vague stuff like get rich.
Yeah, specific, measurable, personal, like save X amount by Y date to start my business, or train consistently to complete the city marathon in under 4 hours.
Something concrete you can connect with. Gwen used that metaphor of your vision being like a helmet.
Yeah, protecting you, giving you resilience when things get tough. Your why keeps you going.
Makes sense. Okay, 2 more steps.
Yep. Step 5 is about embracing fear and taking action anyway.
So acknowledging that the 1% aren't fearless.
Not at all. They feel fear, doubt, anxiety, just like us. The difference is they don't let it paralyze them.
Courage isn't the absence of fear.
It's acting despite it. Sending the email, making the call, showing up to the presentation even if your knees are knocking.
Shaky courage still counts, as they put it.
Love that. Yes. Okay, final step.
Lay it on us.
Step 6. Adjust the method, not the mission.
Meaning?
Setbacks will happen. You'll try things that don't work. You won't always get the results you expect.
Happens all the time.
Right. And when that happens, the 1% mindset doesn't mean just giving up on the goal. It means saying, okay, that approach didn't work. Let's try something else.
So you tweak the system, change the tactic, look at it from a different angle.
Exactly. Keep the mission, the overall goal, but be flexible and persistent in how you pursue it. Keep digging, maybe just in a slightly different spot.
Okay, that's a really practical framework, so pulling it all together.
Yeah, the big picture is that becoming that person who achieves things consistently, it's less about luck or innate talent.
And more about a conscious choice, a commitment to discipline, to those small, consistent actions day in and day out.
It's about deciding to act.
Right. Maybe we should quickly touch on some of those key terms again, just to make sure they're crystal clear.
Good idea. Let's recap the vocabulary. First up, consistency.
Right. Just doing something regularly, like practicing your English speaking every single morning, even if just for 10 minutes, rain or shine.
Perfect. Then discipline.
That's doing what needs to be done, even when it's hard, or let's face it, boring, like choosing to save that extra bit of money instead of buying those shoes you saw.
Exactly. Next, process.
That's the series of steps you take to get something done, like the whole process of researching, outlining, writing, and editing an article.
And closely related, system.
Which is more like your plan, regular way of doing things, like my system for studying is 20 minutes right after lunch every weekday. It's the repeatable structure.
Well put. And then, purpose.
Your why. The reason behind it all. Maybe working hard to provide for your family or training for a race to support a charity. The deep motivation.
And finally, that crucial distinction. Discipline versus motivation.
Right. Motivation is the feeling, the excitement that often gets you started, like feeling hyped to go to the gym on January 1st.
But discipline, that's the action you take even when the feeling isn't there. It's dragging yourself to the gym on a cold, rainy Tuesday in February because it's part of your system, part of your commitment.
Motivation is fickle. Discipline is the muscle you build.
Exactly.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, the main thing to remember is probably the power of those small wins, right?
Absolutely. That 1% you do today, it might feel tiny, almost insignificant, but it's infinitely better than doing nothing. 1% today is better than 0% forever.
So the challenge for you listening is, what's one tiny habit, just one small thing you could start doing today or tomorrow to get yourself 1% closer to where you want to be?
And maybe reflect a little on that discipline versus motivation thing in your own life. Where does motivation usually carry you? And where might a bit more conscious discipline make a real difference?
And definitely check out that free PDF resource mentioned in the original LEP video description. It sounds like a great tool to help you actually start tracking this stuff and build your own 1% journey.
Yeah, give it a go. And maybe even share what you decide to try. We genuinely love to hear about the small steps you're taking.
Definitely. And just keep that bamboo image in mind.
Right. Progress isn't always loud or obvious. A lot of the most important work happens quietly, underground, building that strong foundation?
Trust the process. Keep taking those small steps. They really do add up.